It's a new day, guys, and I'm back with a big old chapter 3 news video. Before we get into everything we'll be seeing in the chapter 3 update, you might be thinking that I've done a video like this before, and you're right, I have. And it was one of my most popular videos, but looking back at it, it's not a video I'm very proud of. So I thought since Redbeat have been really quiet recently, this would be the perfect time to redo the video and give all my new subscribers all the information you need to know about chapter 3. As for new locations, we know about one underwater construction site where the few tall towers which peek out the water. This location is of course named Varuna Point, and a few videos back I speculated with good reason that this may be the location of the brand new boss we may have to battle to get our hands on some special items or treasure. This new boss could be a crocodile or a giant squid. There are tons of possibilities, and really it's all speculation at the moment. Obviously, with these new locations all being deep underwater, we'll be seeing new scuba gear being given to us so that we can actually combat it, which may indicate that the first new location in chapter 3 will be above water, seeing as it wouldn't make sense if we had to dive underwater to get the scuba gear, but that's just me thinking. And speaking of scuba gear, I've recently made a video covering a leak I found online. I believe we'll be getting our hands on an awesome new harpoon gun to go along with the scuba gear. This harpoon gun will be absolutely amazing, but will most likely be found in a similar way to the machete, and if a new boss will be introduced under the water, then the harpoon gun will most definitely come in handy. Some new monsters have also been leaked by Redbeat themselves. We'll be seeing the brand new jellyfish, which was added in the renovation update, appear all over Varuna Point, as they can actually be seen in one of the Varuna Point concept art pieces. And in a Q&A, the developers answered that the jellyfish won't be harvested but will sting you and can basically just attack you, which is quite scary. The other monster, which is obviously going to feature down deep in the ocean, whether that's at the bottom of Varuna Point or deep in the ocean somewhere else, is the anglerfish. It looks proper scary and would probably feature in a similar way to the rats, kind of just ambushing you while you're deep diving in Varuna trying to search for the big crocodile boss mob, for example. There's also another monster being added which looks a lot like a beetle, and I'm not entirely sure where it'll feature, but it does mean that there are more points of interest than just Varuna Point, which is kind of self-explanatory. But I bet there will be a completely different island which we don't even expect, which could feature possibly a sewer of some kind, because they do kind of appear like some sort of sewage dweller. Either way, I really cannot wait to be surprised with all the different places we'll get to explore. On top of all of these pretty much 100% confirmed features, there are tons of features up in the air on whether they'll be included in the chapter 3 update or not. Anyways, the first of these is character customization, and I've covered this in a past video as well, but the reason why I think we could be seeing this in chapter 3 is because in a Q&A Raft developers had in 2020, Andre, one of the developers, said, quote, "Character customization is something we've been wanting to add for a long time, but it's quite challenging to do at the stage where we're at, so we're honestly not very sure," unquote. Sounds like we'll be able to completely customize our character either in chapter 3 or a future update. Another new addition in chapter 3, which is 100% confirmed, is the addition of more standard islands to add variety and just a more immersive gameplay experience, because there aren't very many standard islands at the moment and you kind of keep running into the same ones and eventually you just know where things are, and it does get a bit unimmersive, so that's a really cool addition that we know we'll get. In that same Q&A from 2020, Samir, another one of the developers, actually answered a question about possible automation by saying, quote, "Hopefully we can figure out some cool way to make use of all the resources you get way too many of," unquote. This could obviously mean loads of different things, but I reckon we'll get a more advanced collection net, as currently the collection net is named Simple Collection Net. This is obviously an indication of something new coming, since it used to be called just a collection net. There is actually a mod in the Raft modding community called Garbage Sucker, and the new automation junk collection thing could be something just like the Garbage Sucker. It could pick up items which aren't directly in its path and may also be able to store them in a chest or storage facility perhaps. They've also said numerous times that they'd love to explore the possibility of more automation in future, and this could mean we'll get an entire industrial update, perhaps including suction pipes or conveyor belts which can be hooked up to furnaces or chests, collection nets, and much more. A lot of this stuff can already be seen in the game's Satisfactory, and I feel like a lot of that stuff we'll get our hands on in Raft. Moving on from automation, let's talk about building, since that is a very big part of Raft. You know, building up your raft, making it your own, personalizing it to your liking. And since Varuna is a construction site, it's quite possible we may be able to harvest perhaps concrete, and with concrete we may be able to get a brand new building material like bricks or perhaps even metal. The entirety of the building inside of Raft is basically just based upon two wooden textures we have, the polished wood looking texture and then obviously the old cheap wooden feel that's been in the game forever. And I suppose we do have the plants, but that's about it. I feel as if it's most definitely time for us to see some brand new building materials, and it would definitely spice up the building theme of Raft. And it would also make sense for us to get these at Varuna. Perhaps it's just me overthinking though, but I bet we'll get something like that in future. Now I do have one more feature which is likely to not appear in the chapter 3 update, but I would most definitely not count it out. This is underwater raft construction. Yeah, you heard me right. The developers actually said themselves in that 2020 Q&A that although it'd be a tough task implementing it, it's something they'd love to do in the future. And since this update is all about deep diving and using scuba gear, perhaps this would be the perfect time for the developers to drop this absolute bombshell of a game changer on us. I know I'd absolutely love it if I could literally put my bedroom underwater, and then imagine if they added glass as a building material. You can have an underwater viewing experience with full glass, and you could look at Bruce as he just tears away at the edge of your raft. I mean, wouldn't that be just so cool? Obviously, once again guys, take that with a pinch of salt. It's not confirmed, but very likely. And obviously the biggest talking point of any update, the release date. I made an entire video on the release date for chapter 3, so if you're interested in seeing a bit more of an in-depth explanation, then make sure to check the video out in the top right hand corner of your screen. But long story short, I believe we'll be getting our hands on a trailer or announcement of some sort halfway through September roughly, as it'd give Raft developers enough time to come back from their short hiatus and fully polish this update and prepare for the marketing weeks that are ahead of them. I do believe we'll get at least a week's warning for the update, and whether that's an announcement or a full-blown trailer I don't know yet, because the developers and the producers will most definitely want to market this update the best they've ever done. They'll put it everywhere and hopefully reinvest some of that revenue made from the renovation update and of course the chapter 2 update. The advertisement campaign for chapter 3 will hopefully be bigger than we've ever seen before, and in turn could bring in a whole load of new players. So remember, be welcoming, help people out, because this game is heavily underrated and I wish to see this community grow so much more. Anyways guys, that is pretty much everything you need to know about chapter 3. We may get more leaks in the coming weeks, but Redbeat have been so incredibly quiet recently and it's pretty hard to make chapter 3 content, but that won't stop me. You already know our Floating Alone series will carry on until chapter 3 gets released, and then of course I'll be pumping out the news videos once again for all of you lovely people. If you enjoyed this video though, please do drop it a like, it helps me out a ton in the algorithm, and feel free to subscribe if you haven't already because there will be loads more of where this came from. And have an amazing day guys, I will see you in the next one.